Hello everyone. So today we have a special guest with us, Dr. Vibhor Mohan, who is a senior journalist with having nearly about 25 years of experience in Punjab politics, NRI affairs and architecture. Hello sir.
Hi.
थैंक यू फॉर जॉइनिंग अस एज आपकी बुक चंडीगढ़ द बैक स्टोरी। तो मतलब आपको ऐसा क्या लगा कि आपने उस आर्किटेक्चर बेस पे एक बुक लिखी, मतलब कुछ एक ऐसी चीज़ जिससे आपको इंस्पायर किया बुक लिखने के लिए?
See, as I said that all these anecdotal accounts which I got to know about the making of the city, so that stayed with me, and it was somewhere rankling in my mind. So that is how it started. So the first one, when I wrote the first book, it was a fictional account. So that time, the idea was to cater to the younger population and make it an easy reading.
So you have been in the field from so long. So can you tell us a bit about your journalism journey?
I started in 1999. So, in fact, I was studying, I was doing my BCom,
Okay.
and I was studying to become a chartered accountant. So, that was the time when these local pullouts started, you know. So, there was this leading English newspaper who started a local pullout, and I got a chance to freelance for it initially. So, that is how I, was fascinated by journalism. So initially there was no such plan. So eventually I joined as a trainee, and then the journey
Okay.
began. So now it's been like 25 years.
ओके सो सर यू हैव सेड पहले बीकॉम में आप थे,
जी.
तो कोई ऐसी चीज़ जिसने आपको इंस्पायर किया कि आपने करियर एकदम चेंज कर लिया, बिल्कुल शिफ्ट कर दिया आपने चार्टेड अकाउंटेंट टू अ जर्नलिस्ट?
Uh, one thing was that the love for writing. So initially that was something that drew me to journalism, and secondly the ability to highlight various issues. So at that time we were students, college
Okay.
students, and uh, animal rights, that was one thing. So we wanted to do something for the cause of animals, and so we managed to do a couple of stories. So we thought that it's a good way to get attention. So that time, these were small things that we thought journalism can achieve, which no other profession can.
एग्जैक्टली सर. सो सर यू हैव सेड इट्स बिन 25 ईयर्स.
Yeah.
सो कोई एक ऐसी स्टोरी जो आपको मतलब आपको आपके हिसाब से बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छी हो, आपके हिसाब से मतलब मेमोरेबल स्टोरी हो कोई?
देखिए, इसमें रन ऑफ द मिल स्टोरीज तो चलती रहती हैं. इट्स मोर लाइक साइक्लिकल.
यस.
You have elections every 5 years,
5
and
years.
then even when somebody covers the government, so you have the excise policy, you have things, you have the assembly session, budget session, so those kind of things. But definitely stories which have an impact, those are the ones which stay with you, and to pick one would be difficult. But like I used to cover Punjab University,
Okay.
so there also I made an attempt to highlight different sort of different aspects of the university life. There was the Senate we used to write about the policy decisions, then the student life, their issues, what's happening in the hostels, as in
Okay.
the grouses that they have, and also the campaigning, student elections.
Elections, exactly.
So I started with that. Then I used to cover UT administration,
Okay. Chandigarh administration.
Chandigarh administration. So there I got a chance to write about heritage,
Yes, sir. I have
Chandigarh's
actually read
heritage.
your book.
So this was 2008, 9, 10. So those were the years, and that was the time when some people were still alive who had worked with Le Corbusier. So I got a chance to meet them. So in a way, those stories they kind of stayed with me, because when they used to share anecdotes about, there was this chief architect, former chief architect, Mr. M. A. Sharma. So he would tell us anecdotes that he was sitting with Corbusier and this thing happened. So that stayed with me, and eventually I turned when I wrote my first book.
Yeah.
So that was in a way the inspiration for that.
ओके सो सर आपके जब आप इन द फील्ड जर्नलिज्म तो आपकी बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब डाइवर्स बीट्स हैं आपकी, तो आपकी फेवरेट बीट कौन सी है कवर करने के लिए, जिसको आप बहुत
Uh,
ज़्यादा इंजॉय करते हो एक्चुअली? जैसे एनआरए अफेयर्स भी है, पंजाब पॉलिटिक्स भी है, तो आपकी कौन सी ऐसी बीट है जिसको आप बहुत ज़्यादा इंजॉय करते हो?
See, journalistically, political reporting is slightly more mature, and need to have that insight. If you are interviewing a politician, the body language and how
Exactly.
he frames the answers. So everything, you go beyond the what is apparent, what is being said. So that takes a lot of experience, and I admire people who have been my predecessors, and they kind of we have had in the Chandigarh edition some very good political reporting. Then heritage was another thing, because if we know the why Chandigarh is this way,
Yes.
the heritage and the planning, so then it's easier to plan for the future. So it is very important to know the past.
Okay, so sir, as as I read somewhere that Chandigarh is not meant for these people. So do you think कि अभी मतलब चंडीगढ़ में और ज़्यादा, जैसे अब बहुत ज़्यादा पॉपुलेशन बढ़ रही है दिन ब दिन, तो उसके लिए जगह नहीं है, लेकिन तो उस वो सब चीज़ों से कैसे मैनेज होगा?
See, Chandigarh, we have been saying for a while that this city is on crossroads. So whether to stick to Corbusian school of thought, or whether to break away and address the aspirations of the new generation. So one of the things is that the northern sectors are very sparsely populated. So we can have things like the Apartment Act. We can allow plots to be divided and sold off separately. Those kind of things. But that would come at the cost of the original character of the city getting diluted in some ways. So now it is about striking a balance. We have to move forward, but at the same time, the original character has to,
Be maintained.
yeah, the essence of the city shouldn't go away,
Go away.
the Corbusian
Exactly.
city. But in the periphery, they are, because that is not considered the Corbusian core. So there we have the apartments and flats. So maybe we could go vertical, at least in the periphery, more stories, those kind of things. So step by step, maybe we can try different things.
ओके सो सर, आप पंजाब पॉलिटिक्स को कवर करते थे, तो कोई ऐसी मतलब चैलेंजेस भी फेस करें आपने, बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब डिफ़िकल्ट हुई हो कभी आपको?
There are times of turmoil, political turmoil, when uh, there are rebel groups and those kind of things. So uh, political turmoil is definitely, it happens during every government. There is this phase. So that time, uh, it's the way you look at it. There are more stories, but at the same time, it gets more hectic.
Sir, is there any interesting story you want to share about Punjab or something?
Punjab, see, interesting, I don't know, but there are some very crucial issues that we as journalists need to highlight, and even other stakeholders and people at large need to kind of pay attention. For instance, groundwater is one issue, depleting groundwater, and we have these dark zones now. So now there's a proposal that paddy, which is
Exactly. I have read your article recently.
like a water guzzling, crop, that should be banned in 15 dark zones. So that is one issue. Then the migration of people outside Punjab, going to
Punjab.
other countries.
Other country, yeah.
So which is linked to employment and other, the quality of life basically. So that is another issue. So river water, Kali Bain, Buddha Nala, those kind of things. So these are issues that we collectively should, discuss in. It should be a
yeah.
part of our narrative,
Daily talks and
daily
all.
discourse. Yeah.
सो सर, एज आई हैव सीन दैट जो फील्ड है जर्नलिज्म, उसमें फीमेल रिपोर्टर्स एक्चुअली बहुत कम है इन द मेन स्ट्रीम जर्नलिस्ट. तो आपको ऐसा लगता है कि मतलब फीमेल जर्नलिस्ट क्यों कम है इतनी ज़्यादा फील्ड में?
See, as far as print media is concerned, we have had, at least in the Chandigarh editions of newspapers, print media, English newspapers, we have had some very prominent lady journalists. So that's not true of at least the Chandigarh edition. But now, increasingly, electronic media also has now, more like the numbers are growing.
Exactly.
But traditionally, you are right because it involves working late nights.
एग्जैक्टली एंड इफ़ यू टॉक अबाउट पॉलिटिक्स, तो मतलब कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा होता है कि फीमेल्स को कॉन्टैक्ट्स बनाने थोड़े डिफ़िकल्ट होते हैं एंड वी कैन शेयर कॉन्टैक्ट विद एनी वन, लाइक इट मतलब अगर हम मेल की बात करें तो कॉन्टैक्ट शेयर हो जाते हैं ईजीली, बट एक फ़ीमेल के लिए वो थोड़ा एक रिस्ट्रिक्टेड सा हो
I
जाता
think
है.
these are all myths which have been broken in the past by women journalists, and I mean these are purely myths, and there's no glass barrier that way which holds back women, and they are equally good at reporting, I believe.
सर एक्चुअली वुमेन्स आर गुड बट देयर समथिंग लाइक मतलब अगर हम पॉलिटिक्स की बात करें तो कहीं ना कहीं वो एक रिस्ट्रिक्शन सा
So
आ
you're talking
जाता
about
है.
politics.
या एग्जैक्टली आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट पॉलिटिक्स.
Politics, see, now there's a push for reservation that there should be more women, so there are reserved seats everywhere. But I remember doing this story many years back, uh, in case of MC elections, corporation elections.
Yes.
So there would be these women candidates, but if you see the flex boards and the all the posters, the husband's picture would be bigger than the candidate's picture.
Exactly.
So that is like the non-playing captain. So those things are there, but I believe there again we have seen some very prominent women politicians. So it's more about change of perception.
सर आपने चंडीगढ़ द बैक स्टोरी बुक लिखी, तो उसमें कॉर्बूजर के आर्किटेक्ट वर्क के बारे में बहुत ज़्यादा एक्सप्लेन था, तो आपको किस चीज़ ने इंस्पायर किया कि आपने उनके वर्क के बारे में इतना अच्छा एक्सप्लेन किया बुक के अंदर?
Uh, See, the first book that I wrote was a fictional account, which was called Chandigarh Unmasked. So that time the idea was that to cater to the younger readers and tell the story in a more fast-paced uh, account. But this time, that time, when I posted things about the book on social media, a lot of people wanted to know bare facts. Even though initially I thought that it would be interesting to weave a story around the key milestones of the city, but making of the city. So, but people were somehow keen on knowing the bare facts and how things actually happened. So that was the time. That is how I thought of writing this non-fiction book, Chandigarh: The Backstory. And if you look at it, it's in a way the book goes beyond Corbusier. Corbusier, I had to write about because it's Corbusier's name that rings a bell in
Exactly.
Chandigarh. So if you talk to somebody about the other architects like Bexel Fry, Jane Roux, or Pierre Jeanneret, people wouldn't know that much. So, but at the same time, we have tried to do justice to the other architects,
Other architects.
as well as the other key players like the engineers and the administrators. So that kind of thing. But if you read the book, it's a very comprehensive account, beginning with the selection of the Chandigarh site.
ओके सर, डू यू थिंक कि कॉर्बूजर का जो डिज़ाइन था वो मॉडर्न इंडिया को थोड़ा इफ़ेक्ट करेगा, मतलब लाइक मॉडर्न चंडीगढ़ को?
See, Chandigarh has been, it was in many ways ahead of its time. That time, work on the ground began in 1951. But if you look at the low cost housing that was made at that time, and that too on a very shoestring budget. So those are things that can still be replicated elsewhere. The trends that they set, the out of the box architecture that we have, and also planning the entire city right from scratch. These are things that can be replicated elsewhere. So in a way, yes, that it was ahead of its time. But at the same time, there's a flip side to it, and people criticize Corbusier for not including the local sensibilities of the Punjabi population. You know, they had their own lifestyles. They would sleep on rooftops,
Exactly.
open air. You know, sleeping was very prevalent those times. So Kabusia, you know, what he did was that the universally acceptable जो urban planning ideas थे, उसने वो लाके चंडीगढ़ में
चंडीगढ़ में
impose कर दिए, impose like, you know. So at the same time, you know, since there was a very big hurry, urgent need for a new capital for Punjab, so there was no time for carrying out imperial studies and, you know, studying what are the aspirations of people. So there was no time, so there was a rush. So, but eventually, I think the idea of Chandigarh has clicked.
Okay, sir, can you please share a lesser known fact about Chandigarh? Is there any?
Lesson in terms of the planning of the city?
Yeah.
Lesson, there are many lessons. One of them is that despite money being a constraint, fund constraint, you know, you can still achieve something big, which is, you know, which grabs the attention of the world. So there was hardly any money with the Punjab government, East Punjab government at that time, but we still made a world-class city. So that is one, you know, example. And then, you know, if you read my book, there was a lot of uncertainty about the whole project. There was this slugfest over the site. The people wanted it in Ambala, the new capital. There were 8 locations. So, but it still could be made despite all these roadblocks, uncertainties. So it is also a lesson in positivity, staying positive and optimism, you know. So it is said that the chief engineer, Mr. P.L. Verma, his optimism, you know, saw the project through. So those kind of things are there, and if you read the book, it's all there.
Exactly. So you have been in the field for around 25 years, as you have said. So is there any tip you want to share, you want to give towards some budding journalists who want to cover same topics?
See, one thing is that when we started off, we only had print media. So all these channels came much later. So you have to, you know, take a call depending on your orientation. So if you believe that you are more like a writing person, you know, then you go for print. But now with new media coming in, there's a lot more options than we had. So that is one thing. Secondly, I believe more than anything else, you got to have nose for news, you know, as they say.
Exactly.
So like, you know, somebody goes to attend a seminar of 2 hours or a political rally. So you sit through that, but eventually you have to know that what is the key news point.
Exactly.
So that is the skill of a journalist, you know. So that is one key thing. Besides, I believe it really helps that if you're good at writing, you keep improving your writing skills. And secondly, contact building, cultivating sources. So that also helps. So if somebody thinks that these are things that he's cut out for these things, then you are good to go.
Okay, sir, as you have mentioned about writing, so I have, as I have read about a lot articles about you. So how do you manage keep your writing engaging and informative to your audience?
See, when we were younger, when we were studying journalism, us as me and my friends and I, so we used to, you know, read books and underline new words and then refer to the dictionary, those kind of things. Now, although you have the digital aid, you know, to do so, but building a good vocabulary, you know, so that really helps. And we are still learning, I believe.
सर जैसे एआई का अब टाइम बहुत ज़्यादा एआई हो रहा है, तो आपको लगता है कि राइटिंग उसमें से मतलब कहीं वो इफ़ेक्ट आएगा या आ रहा है राइटिंग पे इफ़ेक्ट?
See, I think AI could also be incorporated in the larger scheme of things. You know, it could be a good tool, but eventually, you know, we have, like I personally have tried to see, just to out of curiosity, in different ways. I've tried to use AI, but you have to be the master. You know, you play around with it, but eventually you see whether it's doing the right things, because then it is still evolving and still prone to errors and getting
ओके यू
things getting messed up.
ओके मतलब काउंटर चेक करना ज़रूरी है
It is very
चीज़ों को.
important. So you can't just blindly rely on AI for anything, and especially because journalism is more about facts,
Exactly.
and how you present them. It's as equally important.
Okay, sir. So last question. So how do you see the future of journalism in India, especially?
See, journalism is growing, and I believe now it is more about convergence of media. So even in print media, like it's not about the hard copy, the printed newspaper alone. You have the online edition.
Yeah.
You have breaking stories happening. You have
Websites also.
So there is, there are videos along with the stories. Then we have also been doing podcasts.
Exact. Podcast तो बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब अब trend में है.
Yeah. So you're listening to a podcast in your car, and then if you're sitting on the back seat, you also get to read the script alongside. So that is very intriguing. People want to read along with listening. Those kind of things. So we are still learning, but I guess convergence is the way forward. So the lines are getting blurred. It's not just about print and digital. It's all getting together.
All together. Okay.
So all the more platforms to shine.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for
Your
having me.
insights were great.
Thank
and
you so much.
I hope कि मतलब अब जो फ्यूचर जर्नलिस्ट हैं उन्हें बहुत ज़्यादा हेल्प मिलेगी एंड चंडीगढ़ के बारे में स्पेशली आपके एक बुक से बहुत ज़्यादा हेल्प मिलेगी. बुक अगर आई वुड रिकमेंड एवरीवन कि आपकी
Thank
बुक
you.
पढ़े.
Thank you so much.
थैंक यू सर.